Today on In the Woodyard, we got 3 saws, 3 brands. We're gonna run 3 tanks, 1 through each saw. Here we go. So as some of you know, I have been a HUSQVARNA guy for a long time just because that's what we had available. It's what my family used. We had a dealer close by, so I used HUSQVARNA stuff. And in the past, I have run some Stihl equipment and I've run some Echo equipment. I like them all. They all work just fine. And for those of you that are super brand loyal and think that there's no other brand besides the one you have, you're wrong. They're all nice. They all work really well. They all have features about them I like, and they all have features about them I don't really like. But they're little things. It's nothing major. There's a reason why these companies are successful and why they're basically the last 3 standing of the major of brands of chainsaws. Yes, there's some other brands out there. Yes, there's some other knockoffs. Yes, there's some other things that have a small market share, but for the most part, Stihl has the biggest market share, followed by HUSQVARNA and then Echo. So of the 3 brands, Stihl has the biggest market share. I'm not sure on the exact numbers, but it's something like annual sales for Stihl is like 1.5 billion, 1.4, something like that. Followed by HUSQVARNA, they have like 1.2 or 1.3, a little bit less. And then Echo still sells a lot, but it's less than $1 billion. It's like 300 million, 400 million, something like that. So these are the 3 big manufacturers as far as product lines, variety of saws. Echo probably has the smallest line of professional saws. This is their biggest one. They're 7310. So it's a 70-ish cc saw. The Stihl, that's a 500i. And I know they're not the same size saws, but that's okay. We're just talking about brands today. This is an 80cc saw, something like that. And then down in the end there is the HUSQVARNA 592, and that's like a 90-something cc saw. So this is like a 70, an 80, and a 90. Yes, I realize that it's not an identical cc for cc match. That's not what this is about today. Today I'm just going to do some cutting, and then we're going to talk about what I like about the saws. Good, bad, ugly, whatever. So it's time to cut. Here we go. So all 3 of the saws have 24-inch bars. They're pretty good chains. I would say they're all pretty equal. They've all been sharpened 3-4 times. The HUSQVARNA is a 592, like I mentioned, 90cc. Actually, it's like a 92 point something or whatever. Let me see what it says here. It says 93. It's a 93cc saw. And the Stihl 500, or Stihl if you like to say it that way, I believe is a 80cc. It might be a little over that, but it's a 500i. This saw is mine. I bought, I don't know, like a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, something like that. I got videos on this, whole bunch of them. This saw is actually Mike's, who helps out here in the Woodyard. He's a big Stihl guy, and he bought this a while ago, and he's got, I don't know, half a dozen, maybe 10 tanks through it so far. I did cut 2 tanks with it the other day. You probably saw that video. Very nice saw. I like it a lot. This saw here is the Echo 7310, and this is actually Adam's saw. He got this from Evergreen Power. They gave this to us to do videos, and it's actually in his name, so it's his saw, even though we all use it. I like all 3 of them. They all 3 cut really nice. This saw, the big difference I would have to say is that it has the longest warranty or guarantee. It's got a 5-year warranty. Very tight tolerances. Most of the stuff made in Japan, as you guys know, is made really well. Kind of like a lot of German stuff and a lot of the Swedish. There you go. So they all make really nice stuff. There's nothing wrong with any of these. All a little bit different, but all 3 are really nice saws. All 3 of them work really well, and I do like all of them. For those of you that have only ever used a Stihl, you should try this Echo. For those of you that only used Echo, you should try the Stihl. For those of you that have only used HUSQVARNA, you should try both of them. You should try all of them. Find someone who's got them. Go to a show where they've got them available and just try them. I think you'd be impressed. The thing that I notice the most when I run the Stihl chainsaws is they seem to have a lot of low-end torque. and they aren't super fast. However, the 500 is the exception. Extremely fast throttle response. It's wide open. It's like a crotch rocket. The HUSQVARNAs are pretty much all like that. I think they're all real quick throttle response, except for the 3120. That's kind of a it's just got a lot of power. But the 92 and the 72, 62, all really nice fast saws. This Echo is a lot like the HUSQVARNA, I think, too. It's just a steady runner. It cuts really nice. It's really smooth. It's just simple and it works really well. And it's, I think, of the three, I think this one is the coolest looking because I like the black and the orange, so I like that. And I guess then followed by the HUSQVARNA, just because I've used them for so much. I like the looks of this. I like the all orange with the gray, and I don't really care for the white. If Stihl would have went, to me, this is just me, if they would have went with the orange and black, I think it would have looked a lot nicer. But what do I know? It's not my company. I just don't care for the white. I think it would be really cool if it was black. That's what I would do because I like this. Okay, let's do some cutting. So the other day I did cut up this locust here from the tree job. I didn't cut all of it, but I cut a bunch of it. This I did cut with the 500 Stihl. So if you're interested in seeing that, it was a couple days ago. And today, what we're gonna do is we're gonna start working on this oak right here. And the reason we're gonna start on this oak is that this is all really small stuff. I see there's some spruce there. This is small wood. I mean, this is probably one of the bigger ones here, maybe 6-8 inches. And a lot of it is small. I'm gonna kind of walk past the pile here. So you can see it's small diameter wood. Some of the stuff is maybe only like 4 inches. Look at how small this is. And this one. And this one, look at how small that is. And the reason we separated these is this stuff is really dry already. And it's pretty much gonna be ready to burn as soon as it's cut and split. And it wouldn't even need to be split. It could probably just be left like that, but I'll knock it down because a lot of my customers like smaller stuff. And then over on the other side over here is the bigger wood. This is the stuff that's more substantial. And this stuff is gonna need to dry longer. There's some little ones we gotta get out of there yet too. As we do processing. So the reason I'm gonna cut these piles, number one, is people are asking me or saying, oh, I really like it when you used to cut in the piles. Well, here's a pile, there's a pile. So I'm gonna cut these piles up with chainsaws. And like I said, the reason why is they're so small. This would be just tedious with the processor because this stuff is tiny. I mean, look at my arm is almost as big as that. It's some small wood. I mean, that's not very big at all. So it's going to be kind of a fun pile to cut because it's not super big. The saws should obviously be more saw than what we need. I'm thinking this is more like a 70cc or a 60cc kind of a size of wood because that would be very adequate. But we're going to use those 3 saws and have some fun. So let's get busy. is the HUSQVARNA 592 XP. There's the wood I just cut. Of course, I don't know how much, but if I had to guess, it's probably real close to a full cord. You won't know until you split it and stack it if that's your thing, but it's a bunch of wood. One thing I can tell you this, I ran out of gas before the saw did. Whew, it is hot out here. It's about 80 degrees right now, so I kind of picked a hot day to do this, but I'm warmed up now. I started with the big one. Next up is we're going to go with the Stihl 500i. We're going to fuel that up and crank it up, and I'm pretty sure I can cut the rest of this with the Stihl 500, this pile right here, and then we'll hit into that pile. So, oh, it's fun to cut again. I haven't cut, like this for quite a while. I miss it. Love cutting in piles. It's just, you can look like you got so much done. The only thing I don't like, obviously heat, having to move the rounds out of the way. If I had someone here just to chuck the rounds, I think I can cut all day. Chucking the rounds is the hard part. But yeah, the saw is a screamer. I hit the ground twice about halfway through, and I could tell it wasn't cutting as good, but it did okay. That's the nice thing about a big saw. Even if it's a little dull, it still cuts. But I was pushing on it a little bit towards the end there because I could tell it wasn't quite biting like it was in the beginning. But yeah, it's a screamer. I wear earplugs and muffs because this is so loud. And that's one of the things people ask me about all the time. It's like, hey, how come you don't get a saw ported? Because I like my hearing, number one. I don't know, I got so many different saws to choose from. I don't really need a ported one, but I'm thinking about getting one done. I'm thinking about porting a smaller saw, like a 572 or a 562, something like that. Maybe a 400, I'll buy a 400 and get it ported, and we'll see. I don't know, but they're so loud. Every time I've been around a guy that cuts with a ported saw, I'm just like, my gosh, my ears are bleeding. So there's that. All right, get something to drink. Gonna give a drink to the Stihl 500i. We're gonna fill it up and we're gonna cut that way right now. There it is, the 500i Stihl, or Stihl, however you like to say it. Chain got very loose. The other ones didn't get so loose. And I don't know if this is a Stihl chain, and I don't know what it is on here that Mike's got on here, but it got really loose. And I tightened it up. I sharpened it and tightened it up before I started. And it was loose before I sharpened it. So I think that might be a thing. Maybe they just stretch a lot. I know the HUSQVARNA chains, they pre-stretch them and they really don't change much. So I don't know. But this saw, I gotta tell you, the hype is real. If you've been wanting one, lusting after one, desiring one, fondling one, every time you go into a Stihl shop, just get one. It's a wicked fast saw. It is, I would say, darn close to the 592. 10 cc's less. But this thing cuts. It really does. I would have to say the 592 it for sure has more power, but far as speed, this thing is fast. It's got real fast throttle response. So for those of you that have them, I understand. For those of you that want them, yes, you should. Okay, now it's time to go to the Echo and go that way on the pile. There it is, pile of wood. So I think altogether there might be 3 full cords here. I don't know. Here's what's left from here over to there, and I figure that's probably 3 full cords also, it looks like. So I got about half of it, I guess. So that's pretty good. So about 3 more tanks, I should have that pile done. And I work on splitting all this. Now, observations. The 592 is the loudest. As far as power, I think it's got that. The 500 Stihl is real fast, a little bit lighter, so it cuts great. Very, very nice. The Echo, I think, lasted the longest because it's obviously not burning as much gas as the bigger ones are, being a 70cc instead of an 80 or a 90. Maybe it was just me getting tired, but most of this is from the Echo, and then the Stihl was kind of in the middle, and then some of this, and then the big pile here was the HUSQVARNA. So of the 3, I would say it's a tie between the Echo and the HUSQVARNA as far as how much wood that they cut. But again, they could be different tank sizes. I'm sure all you guys that are really into all the specs will know exactly. The Stihl cut the least, I think. It felt like it. It didn't run as long as the other 2, and I had them full. So that's just me. I didn't time anything. That's just what it felt like. And I know when I threw the wood, I don't think I threw as much wood from the Stihl as the other 2. Now, the Echo was the last one I ran. Chain is tight, still tight. It's still pretty sharp. It doesn't rev as high as the other 2, so it's not quite as fast. But I'd have to say, if I had to use only one of these the rest of my life, I would take any one of the 3. However, there's this. That one's lighter. As I get older, that'd be nice. The 500 is a little faster, but not, they're real close in weight. The 592 is just a little bit heavier, and it's louder. It's an angry saw. It just cuts angry. It's wicked. The Stihl chain got super loose, and I had it tight. So I don't know if that's a Stihl thing or what, but it's just barely on there. The HUSQVARNA one's a little loose, but not as bad. So you probably noticed I had the whiskers, the feelers, the gauges for the 16 inches for the cut. I also Mike's got one on his also, no pink tape on the end, but I still used it. The Echo, we cut off because they were doing a tree job, Bert and Adam were, and they took them off. So I totally forgot to put another set on, but I did the WAG system with this one, just a wild ass guess. So the big difference is, I would have to say, is that this one here, the 592, to start it, you pull out and up to choke it, and when you squeeze it, it goes off a choke. And it's got the primer bulb, so I do like that. A lot of guys think that that's a toy, but you know, it just works. There's also a primer bulb here on the 500, and it works. I do like the stop button on here, whereas with the HUSQVARNA, you got to push down to turn it off, which is fine. The stop button is awesome. You just hold it in and it's off. And on the Echo, it's got this old school little flippy thing here, but it does work good. So you just flip it off, and it works good. It's out of the way. I didn't bump it at all. It's got a choke all by itself, so that's nice. One thing I do notice about the Echo, when it gets hot, the cap's almost impossible to get off with your hands, which is why they've got this built-in system where you take out the handle, you pull it out a little bit, you stick it in here and you turn it, and you can loosen it up with the handle, so you don't have to use a scrunch. So that works good. They all have double dogs in the front. They all work fine that way. The caps on the HUSQVARNA flip up, and then there's like a full turn and a half, something like that. The caps on the Stihl, you flip up and you get like a quarter turn. They pop off real easy, almost too easy. And the Echoes, you actually have to turn and tighten up, so there's quite a bit of space there. So, but they work really good. So, like I said, any one of the 3 would be just fine, and I would be happy with any one of them if it's all I ever had to use again is any one of the 3. The 592 is a little big because it's heavy. The 500 is really fast, runs really good, it cuts fast, and the Echo is really nice. Any one of them is very nice. So Obviously, the Echo would be the cheapest one by far. I think this is like a $900 or $1,000. I don't know exactly. The Stihl 500 is like a $1,700 saw, and I think the 592 is also like $1,600, $1,500, somewhere in there. So, but they all work good. I'm hot, I'm sweaty, I'm stinky, I'm dirty, and I'm hungry. That's it for today, folks. Tomorrow I'll be back 5:30 a.m. You're gonna come back. We're gonna do some more work. I'll see you then. Good night, Irene.